There isn't an experience in life that is about the end result. We think it is when we're in the moment of it. We think if we can just get through the teething and the needy phase, the home renovation, the move, the wedding, the diagnosis, or the healing journey, then everything will fall into place. Then we will feel grounded. Then we will be able to feel joy. We will finally feel like ourselves again, right? I know you know exactly what I'm talking about because we all do this. We live so much of our lives thinking about how once this happens, then I will feel a certain way or be able to do certain things. But nothing in life is about that final moment. It's not about the wedding day. It's about falling in love. It's about finding someone you are so aligned with, so drawn to, so passionate about that you can't wait to build a life together. That's the why behind marriage. And yet, so often, by the time the wedding day comes around, you are exhausted. You just want it to be over because you have poured all of your energy into planning the ceremony. And somewhere along the way, you've forgotten to actually be in the relationship, to be present for the love, for the joy, for the reason you said yes in the first place. And it's the exact same thing in healing. Welcome to the Follow Your Gut podcast, the show for the woman who's ready to stop outsourcing her and her family's health and start leading it. I'm your host, Juniper. Every week, I'll teach you how to understand your body and your child's symptoms through the lens of the gut so you can take clear, confident steps towards real healing. This isn't about chasing symptoms or following trendy protocols. This is about foundational healing, where we get to the root of it all, your gut. I am so happy you're here. Let's dive in. When my son was unwell, I lost myself. And I know many of you are in the thick of this right now, trying to heal your own body or heal your child's body, and it is all consuming. It pulls you in so deeply that it becomes the only thing you can see. In the thick of my son's journey, I poured every second of my energy and my focus into his symptoms and trying to figure them out. I was desperate because I could see him getting worse every single day, and there wasn't a doctor who could validate what I was seeing. They dismissed me and almost made me feel like I was a hypochondriac, like I was going crazy. I remember reaching a point, actually, where I quietly wondered to myself if maybe I was making it all up. I had just taken my son to the pediatrician with a diaper full of what looked like parasites and blood and was told that it was fine, it was normal, and referred to a mental health specialist if I needed it. I knew in my bones, I knew that if I didn't find a way to heal him, I was going to lose him. So I did what I knew how to do. I abandoned myself and every little habit that adds up to wholeness. I stopped sleeping. I stopped moving my body. I stopped even knowing how to find joy. I stopped breathing deeply because in the seldom moments when my son finally fell asleep, I didn't sleep. I used that time to research, to try to figure out what was wrong so I could heal his body. I was living in pure survival mode. That's what I can see now looking back. I wasn't living. I wasn't nourishing myself. I wasn't connecting with my daughter or my husband or even my own body. I was holding my breath and pushing through, just trying to figure out what was wrong so I could heal him and keep my family afloat. And I, of course, don't regret this. I don't look back with shame or judgment. I was doing what every mama would do when their child is suffering and no one is listening. But if I knew then what I know now, I would have done it very differently, because I can see now that I didn't have to lose myself in order to heal him. In fact, I could have healed him faster and with more grace, more steadiness, more clarity and confidence, from much more grounded energy if I hadn't abandoned myself in the process. His healing journey wasn't separate from mine. It never was. There isn't a single part of motherhood that is separate from us. I didn't understand that yet, though. And it wasn't just about me and him either. When one member of a family is deeply unwell, the whole family is impacted. The healing has to be collective, even if it's initiated through one person's symptoms. My husband Ty needed to heal. My daughter needed to heal. Our whole family had been living in a constant state of survival. And it wasn't until we created space to breathe, space to feel, space to actually see each other again, that I realized we had all been carrying it. Not just my son's symptoms, but the weight of it all, the fear, the pressure, the disconnection. His symptoms started right from birth. His colic, reflux, eczema that covered his whole body, his sour smelling poops that were full of undigested food, mucus, and blood. And as he got older, things only deepened. Behavior challenges, speech delays, sensory processing issues, his long list of allergies. And I hit a place, my rock bottom, where I just couldn't keep doing it the way I was doing it. We were living in a neighborhood that we just didn't belong in. My children have always been wild and free-spirited and very much alive, and they wanted to run around barefoot and naked, and that was not the energy of that neighborhood. There was so much pressure, so much criticism, so many opinions from people I didn't even align with, telling me I needed to discipline my son more. I needed to be firmer, that his behavioral outbursts were just how boys are. I was suffocating. I didn't belong there, and I knew this wasn't my son. He was trapped inside a body that wasn't working for him, a body that was screaming for help in the only way that it knew how. And I could feel him slipping further away from me. It felt like no one else could see it, not the doctors, not the neighbors, not even my husband at times. Ty was a traveling salesman at the time. He would be home for 1 week and then gone the next. I remember one horrific day. It was so cold and windy in Montana that the ice, the frost was like growing in through the door lock onto the inside of the door handle. I was standing in my closet, bouncing my son in my Ergo baby carrier while my daughter waited patiently for just a few minutes of my undivided attention. And my son wouldn't sleep. He couldn't sleep. I remember feeling so angry and stuck, like I was literally suffocating. I felt so much pressure. I text Ty, I can't do this alone anymore. I'm not okay. I am buying a motorhome and we are coming with you to work. At first he said no. He had worked so hard for our house, but I knew we needed to do something different. So I found renters, I bought a motorhome, and we left. I wanted to go for a year. Ty agreed to 4 months. And honestly, those 4 months were quite possibly the hardest 4 months of our marriage. Our son's health was still declining. We were all sleep deprived, and suddenly we found ourselves without internet. I couldn't desperately search Google for help. and Ty couldn't zone out with Netflix. There were no distractions, and there was nowhere to hide, not even from our own feelings and fears. During the very last week, we finally started to get it. Ty and I were forced to communicate. We found ourselves deeply in the moment with ourselves, our children, and each other out in the middle of nowhere. And this one week saved us. I started walking again. I was reconnecting with nature, with my own thoughts, and finding inspiration that had been dead. And even though our son was still struggling, it didn't feel quite so heavy. I'm sharing this story with you because I know not everyone can sell everything and find themselves down long dirt roads in the middle of nowhere without service, which is actually the point. I needed that journey to remember who I was, to find what I'm about to share with you. But you don't need to go on an extreme journey. You can take this and implement it right now inside your own life, exactly where you are. We came home thinking we could carry the newfound energy into our old life. But within a week, we knew we didn't fit into that old life anymore. We never actually did. And we especially didn't after getting more clear on who we wanted to be. We sold everything. We bought an Airstream and we hit the road indefinitely. And we didn't stop living and traveling on the road for almost a decade. Because in that space, away from the noise, the pressure, the expectations, the commitments, we finally had room to come home to ourselves. And what I didn't know back then, when we first started traveling, when we sold everything and left behind the life we thought we were supposed to have, was that something energetic had shifted. I didn't have the language for it at the time, but I now can look back and see I had unknowingly started manifesting the life I actually wanted. Because what we focus on, we attract. This is the law of energy. Like attracts like. And the more I focused on creating peace in my day, finding joy with my children, feeling grounded in nature, remembering who I was, even though my son's health was still declining, the more of all of the light we experienced. And this is such an important piece to talk about because if we are only ever focused on symptoms, on what's not working, on the pain or the exhaustion or the fear, we are going to keep creating more of that. I know this can feel really heavy and really hard to hear, but when we understand it through the lens of energy, it all starts to make so much sense. As soon as we begin focusing on the small wins, the tiny signs of healing, a little bit better night of sleep, the quiet moments of connection, the first laugh of the day, we begin to see more of the light. Not because we're making it up or living in denial, but because we are creating space to see it, to feel it, to receive more of it. We are attracting what we are available for. And when we become available for joy, for lightness, for healing, for connection, we start living in a way that magnetizes those things. We don't just wait for them, we embody them. And that's what brings the healing into form. The simplest way you can start practicing this right now, today, is by asking yourself one simple question. Why? Why are you doing what you are doing? Why are you healing your child? Is it so they can thrive, so they can have joy-filled days, so they're not in pain or constantly uncomfortable in their body, so they can sleep through the night, so they can play without reacting, so they can be free in their own skin. And if that's your goal, how can you start creating that right now? How can you shift your focus, even just a little bit, to notice and celebrate the moments where that's already beginning to happen? Because I promise you, when you are rebalancing and healing the body from the inside out, it is. Even when you are in the thick of topical steroid withdrawal and your child's skin looks worse than it ever has, even when you haven't left the house in a week, even when you are up all night scratching their back and holding their tears, even when they are melting down over food and you're too tired to cook one more thing that they're probably not going to eat, and you're wondering if anything you are doing is even making a difference, there is still something beautiful happening. Maybe they are reaching for a vegetable without a fight. Maybe they made eye contact for a little bit longer today. Maybe they laughed today. Maybe they let you hold them. Maybe you responded with more patience than you thought you had. Maybe your intuition felt a little bit stronger. Those are the moments that matter. They are proof that healing is happening. But when we are only looking for the finish line, we miss the miracle of the middle. And the same is true for you. Why are you healing yourself? Probably so you can feel strong and grounded in your body, so you can show up for your children and your marriage with energy, so you can feel joy again, so you can move through your days without feeling like you are dragging yourself through mud. So ask yourself, how can you feel just 1% more like that version of you today? What would she do this morning? How would she feed herself? How would she talk to herself on the hard days? It doesn't have to be everything, but even one small shift toward the why changes the energy of your entire journey. Why are you building a business? It's probably not just to hit a certain income number. $5,000 a month, $10,000 a month, maybe even $100,000 a month, or gosh, even $100,000 a day. That's not the real goal. The real goal is to share something you love, to help people, to make a difference in the world. When you focus on the why, the results are inevitable and they show up faster. And when the results do show up, you're ready for it because you have shown up for the process of becoming the version of yourself who can actually hold and live and thrive in that space. In last week's episode, I shared about the chaos happening behind the scenes with our email migration. I had several entrepreneur friends message me and say, "How are you so grounded through this? I would be losing my mind." And this is how, because my focus isn't on the end result. It's on the process, on who I am becoming in this season of my life. Only isn't going anywhere. There isn't an end. We are just getting started, and this messy migration is simply something we are supposed to experience to help us become even stronger and more capable of supporting even more families in healing. I am not focused on everything being perfect. I'm focused on how I want to feel, how I want to lead, how I want to show up for my life, for my family, for the incredible women and Ty who make up the Only team, for all of the people that we have the honor of serving. That's where my focus is. And when you shift your focus closer like this, it takes the pressure off. It allows you to trust that you are exactly where you are meant to be because you are creating that reality every single day. This shows up in every area of our life, including healing. When you or your child are rebalancing and you are experiencing a flare, it's so easy to spiral, to feel like you are back at square one. But if you are focused on the process instead of the outcome, it changes your entire journey. You stop seeing the flare as a failure and you start seeing it as part of the healing, as part of the clearing, part of the path forward. If you find yourself in this situation, I want you to ask yourself, what else is improving? Is sleep continuing to get better? Is your mood or your child's starting to feel lighter? Are you more patient, more grounded, more attuned to what actually is going on inside? These are the real markers of healing. And when you let yourself notice them, really celebrate them, lean into them, you step outside of survival mode and into trust. Because healing isn't the finish line. You have to remember who is leading this journey. Who are you becoming? Are you making time for the things that matter most, for the version of yourself that you want to be? That grounded, centered woman who drinks tea every day. She isn't some far-off fantasy. If that's who you want to be her today. Don't wait. Let her live in you now. Because if you don't become the version of yourself who knows how to hold a healthy body or how to parent a healed child or how to lead a mission-driven business or whatever it is that you are doing and focusing on right now, then when you arrive, it won't feel like you had imagined. You will feel unsatisfied. You will feel empty. You will feel like something is missing because you held your breath the whole way there instead of breathing life into it every step of the way. And this is not just for right now. It's not just for this season or this flare or this phase of healing. This changes the way you walk through your entire life because even when the symptoms settle and things start to feel more stable, life keeps evolving. Your kids get older, your body changes, your business grows, and suddenly the same fear of what if this isn't enough can start to show up in new ways. For me right now, it's showing up in motherhood again. My daughter is stepping into her teenage years full force, and I can feel her pulling away in new and unfamiliar ways. And I'm not ashamed to share how painfully hard it is. It stirs up emotions just talking about it right here. It's really tender, it's raw, and if I am not careful, I can start to spiral into fear. Thoughts like, what if this distance keeps growing? What if I can't reach her the way I used to? What if I've already lost something that I'll never get back? But when I catch myself spiraling toward that, imagine what if of trying to skip ahead to control the outcome, I have to pause and breathe and ask myself, what is true right now? Why does this matter? And how can I show up fully for this moment? Because that's where the real magic happens. That's where connection lives, and that's where healing continues. We are all constantly becoming. And when we, as mamas, remember that our family is co-regulating with us, we have the power to shift everything, not by trying to control them, but by taking full control of ourselves. When we take the time to maintain our own regulation, our own connection to the moment, we create space for our children to feel safe in theirs. And the flow of your whole family follows. And I say all of this with so much love because I know from personal experience that none of this comes naturally. You will forget, and then you will remember. And then you will forget again. And when you do, come back and listen to this episode again. because every time you remember, it gets a little bit easier and it starts to feel more like who you are. So, right now, slow down and ask yourself why and live from that place because that's what makes healing real. That's what makes it last. That's what changes everything. Before we wrap up, I love closing out the episode with your transformations and answers to your questions. This is my favorite way to stay connected with you and to support you no matter where you are in your healing journey. If you want to submit a question, I open up a question box every month on my Instagram stories, so watch for that. Submit your questions and make sure you are subscribed to the podcast so you are sure to hear the answers. Now, let's get into it. A transformation and a question asked by so many of you in last month's question box. This week's transformation is a powerful reflection of what real healing actually looks like, because it's not just about taking supplements. It's about transformation on every level. This mama shared, I signed up for your course and I'm only a few lessons in. I already know it's the answer to all of my prayers. I know this is going to help my daughter who has struggled her whole life. We have never gotten clear answers from any doctor, and your course is already giving me more clarity than I have ever had. When I read messages like this, I'm reminded that healing is never just about what we take. It's about who we become. The course that comes with the gut rebalance kits and the new symptom specific bundles was really created for this exact reason, to guide you through so much more than just a protocol. Because true healing isn't just physical, it's emotional, it's mental, it's spiritual. Inside the course, I teach you how to prepare your or your child's body for healing, how to nurture the nervous system, how to regulate emotions, and shift your mindset so your body or your child's body feels safe enough to heal. You will learn how to see food differently, understand what symptoms are communicating, and embody the version of yourself or the mother that you want to be, who leads healing with confidence. And actually, while we are talking about the course, I'm really excited to share that the new edition of the course has just been released. I just published it. The old version was called The Essentials of Gut Health. This new version is called The Only Method. It's even more supportive and integrative than the old version. It's truly everything I wish I had had when I was walking this path with my son. Because taking the supplements will, yes, absolutely help you heal, but understanding your symptoms, learning how to partner with your body, and becoming the version of you who can confidently lead your family's healing, that's what changes everything. When you know what's happening inside your body or your child's body and how to support it through every stage, healing stops feeling overwhelming and it starts to feel really empowering, which is what this mama is already experiencing. Clarity, direction, and the beginning of becoming the woman who not only heals herself and her child, but builds a life rooted in balance, resilience, and peace. And for those of you who are already rebalancing, you already have access to the new edition of the course. You will find it in your account on the website or right inside the Only Method app. Just go to your dashboard and click My Courses. If you need any help, please email Kate at customercare@onleorganics.com and she will be so happy to help you. Now for our question of the week. This is one that I know so many of you have wondered. Someone asked, do the kits get rid of aluminum in the body and in the brain? The short answer is yes. The ultimate option of the gut rebalance kits support the body in safely clearing aluminum. But to really understand how, we have to talk about why aluminum builds up in the body in the first place. Aluminum and other heavy metals accumulate when the gut is out of balance. So when there is an overgrowth of bad bacteria, yeast, mold, fungus, or parasites. These overgrowths create inflammation that slows the detox organs like the liver and the lymphatic system, making it harder for your body to flush out metals naturally. When you begin rebalancing, cleanse, targets, and clears these overgrowths. Bind literally binds to the toxins and metals being released, and nourish and remineralize, replenish beneficial bacteria and vital minerals so your body can become stronger and more resilient. This combination is what allows your body to release stored toxins, including heavy metals like aluminum, in a really gentle and sustainable way. Unlike aggressive metal detox protocols that push metals out faster than your body can handle, the gut rebalance kits work with your body's natural rhythm. You are not forcing detoxification. You are restoring the systems that do the detoxing naturally. This is important because aluminum doesn't just build up in the gut or in the liver. Research has found that the brain tissues of people with conditions like autism, Alzheimer's, and MS all contain significant amounts of aluminum. But the brain doesn't exist in isolation. It's directly connected to the gut through the vagus nerve. So when you heal the gut, you reduce inflammation and open up detox pathways, you naturally support your brain in clearing these stored metals and toxins too. This is one of the reasons why rebalancing can create such profound shifts, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally, because when your body finally clears what's been weighing it down, your mind and your nervous system can start to come back into balance too. If this episode resonated with you, share it with a friend or a family member who's ready to lead her family's healing. Everything mentioned in this episode is linked down below for you in the show notes. Be sure to subscribe to the Nourish newsletter, also linked down below, so you never miss an episode. I will email you the latest episode every Tuesday morning. Everything shared on this show is for educational purposes only, not intended as medical advice. Until next time, trust your body and follow your gut.